Book of Heaven, Volume 19, Part 7. May 10th, 1926. Just as the sun is life of all nature, the divine will is life of the soul. Effects of the rising of the sun of the divine will in the soul. The innumerable bilocations and the continuous course of the sun of the divine will in the acts of the creature. My poor mind was swimming in the immense sea of the eternal volition, and my sweet Jesus transported me outside of myself in the act in which the sun was rising. What enchantment to see the earth, the plants, the flowers, the sea, undergoing such a transformation. All of them freed themselves of a nightmare that oppressed them. All rose to the new life that the light gave to them, and acquired their beauty and development that the light and the heat gave them in order to make them grow. The light seemed to take them by the hand in investing them to give fecundity to plants and color to flowers, to dispel the shadows of darkness from the sea, and give it its silvery shades with its light. But who can say all the effects that the solar light produced by investing all the earth, covering everything with its garment of light? I would be too long if I wanted to describe everything. Now, while I was seeing this, my beloved Jesus told me, "My daughter, how beautiful is the rising of the sun, how it changes all of nature, and by transforming it into its very light, it gives to each thing the effects needed to make them produce the good they contain. But in order to do this, the light must invest them, touch them, mold them, penetrate so deep into them as to give them sips of light in order to infuse the life of the good that they must produce. So, if the plants, the flowers, the sea did not let themselves be invested by the light would be as though dead for them, and they would remain in the nightmare of darkness that would serve as the tomb to bury them. The virtue of darkness is to give death. The virtue of light is to give life. So if it wasn't for the light of the sun, on which all created things are dependent, and from which all of them receive life, nothing good would be on earth. On the contrary, it would be frightening and horrible to the sight. Therefore the life of the earth is bound to the light. Now, my daughter, the sun is the symbol of my will, and you have seen how beautiful and enchanting is its rising over the earth, how many effects it produces, how many different colors, how many beauties, how many transformations its light can produce, and how this sun has been placed there by its Creator in order to give life, growth, and beauty to all nature. So, if this is what the sun does in order to fulfill its office given to it by God, much more does the sun of my will, that was given to man to infuse in him the life of his Creator, oh, how much more enchanting and beautiful is the rising of the sun of my will over the creature. By pounding on her, its light transforms her and gives her the different colors of the beauty of her Creator. By investing her and molding her, it penetrates into her and gives her sips of divine life, that she may grow and produce the effects of the goods that the life of her Creator contains. Now, what would happen to the earth without the sun? Much more ugly and frightening would the soul be without my will. How she decays from her origin! How the nightmare of passions and vices, more than darkness, makes her die, and prepares the tomb in which to bury her. But you have seen that the light of the sun can do good, in so far as the plants, the flowers, and the other things let themselves be touched and invested by the light, remaining with their mouths open, in order to receive the sips of life which the sun gives to them. So it is with my will. It can do so much good. It can infuse so much beauty and divine life, for as much as the soul lets herself be touched, invested, molded by the hands of light of my will. If the soul gives herself prey to this light, abandoning herself completely in it, my supreme will shall perform the greatest prodigy of creation, the divine life in the creature. Oh, if the sun could form with the reflection of its light as many other suns on each plant, in the seas, on the mountains, in the valleys, what more beautiful enchantment! What beauty more radiant! How many more prodigies would there not be in the order of nature? Yet what the sun does not do, my will does in the soul who lives in it, and who remains with her mouth open, like a little flower, in order to receive the sips of light that my will gives her, to form the life of the divine sun within her. Therefore be attentive. Take, in every instant, these sips of light of my will, that it may accomplish in you the greatest of prodigies, that my will may have its divine life in the creature. After this, I was saying to my highest and only good, my love, I unite my intelligence to yours, so that my thoughts may have life in yours, and diffusing in your will, they may flow over each thought of creature. And rising together before our celestial Father, we shall bring him the homages, the subjection, the love of each thought of creature. And we shall impetrate that all created intelligences may be reordered and harmonized with their Creator. And the same with the gazes of Jesus, with his words, with his works, with his steps, and even with his heartbeat. I felt all transformed in Jesus, in such a way that I found myself as though in act, in everything that my Jesus had done and was doing to restore the glory of the Father, and in the good he had impetrated for creatures. His work was one with mine, one the love, one the will. And my sweet Jesus added, my daughter, how beautiful is the prayer, the love, the work of the creature in my will. Her acts are filled with the whole of the divine fullness. Their fullness is such that they embrace everything and everyone, even God himself. See, for all eternity, your thoughts shall be seen in mine, your eyes, your words in mine, your works and steps in mine, your heartbeat palpitating in mine, because one is the will that gives us life, one the love that moves us, that pushes us, and that binds us in an inseparable way. This is why the Son of my will surpasses in an infinite and more surprising way the sun present in the atmosphere. See the great difference. The sun created by God, while pounding on the earth, invests it. It produces admirable and innumerable effects, but it does not depart from its source. It descends down below, it rises up high, it touches the stars, but the fullness of light remains always within its sphere. Otherwise it would not be able to invest everything with its light, always equally. But in spite of all this, the solar light does not penetrate into the heavens to invest the throne of God, to penetrate into God himself, and make its light one with the inaccessible light of the Supreme Being. Nor can it invest the angels, the saints, or the celestial Mama. On the other hand, when the Son of my will reigns in the soul with all its fullness, its light penetrates everywhere, into the hearts and into the minds of the creatures who live down on earth. But what surprises is that it rises up high. It invests the whole creation and brings the kiss of the light of the Supreme Will to the sun, to the stars, to the heavens. The divine will that reigns in the creation and the Son of the divine will that reigns in the soul meet. They kiss each other, love each other, and make each other happy. And while remaining in the creation, because the Son of my will leaves nothing behind, but brings everything with itself, it penetrates into the heavens. It invests every one, the angels, the saints, the sovereign queen. It gives its kiss to all. It gives new joys, new contentments, new love. But this is not all. It pours itself mightily into the womb of the Eternal One. The divine will, bilocated in the creature, kisses, loves, adores the will reigning in God himself. It brings everyone and everything to him, and as they dive into each other, it rises again to follow its course. In fact, since the fullness of the Son of the Eternal Will is in the soul, the Son is at her disposal, and as she emits her acts, loving, praying, repairing, and so forth, this Sun continues its course, to give to all the surprise of its light, of its love, of its life. So while the Sun of the Eternal Will rises and follows its course to perform its setting in the womb of the divinity, another one rises to follow its way, enveloping everything, even the celestial fatherland, to then have its golden sunset in the womb of the Supreme Majesty. So the bilocations of my will are innumerable, This sun rises at each act of the creature done within the sun of the supreme volition, which does not happen with the sun present in the atmosphere, that is always one, and does not multiply. Oh, if the sun had the virtue of making as many suns rise for as many times as it does its course over the earth, how many suns could one not see up there? What enchantment! How many more goods would the earth not receive? Therefore, how many goods does the soul who lives completely in my will not do, by giving her God the occasion to bilocate his will, to let him repeat the prodigies that only a God can do? Having said this, he disappeared, and I found myself inside myself. May 13th, 1926. In the fulfillment of one's duty, there is sanctity. Image of one who operates for human purposes, and of the one who operates to do the divine will. How our Lord is the heartbeat of all creation. I was doing my usual adoration to my crucified Jesus, and while praying, I felt my sweet Jesus near me. Throwing his arm around my neck, he clasped me tightly to himself, and at the same time, he made me see my last late confessor. The footnote reads, "This is Father Francesco de Benedictis, who died on January 30th, 1926. I seemed to see him pensive, all recollected, but without saying anything to me. My Jesus looked at him and told me, 'My daughter, your confessor has found great things before me, because when he would undertake an office, a commitment, he would neglect nothing so as to fulfill that office exactly. He was most attentive. He would make great sacrifices, and if necessary, he would even dispose himself to lay down his own life, so that his office might be fulfilled exactly. He had a fear that, if he did not operate as befitted his office in the works entrusted to him, he himself might be an obstacle to the very work entrusted to him. This means that he appreciated and gave the right value to my works, and his attentiveness attracted the grace that was needed for the fulfillment of his office. This may not appear to be such a great thing, but rather it is everything. In fact, when one is called to an office and fulfills the duties pertaining to that office, it means that he does it for God. And in the fulfillment of one's duty, there is sanctity. So he came before me with the fulfillment of his own duties that had been entrusted to him. How could I not reward him as he deserved? Now, while Jesus was saying this, the confessor seemed to become more engrossed in more profound recollection, and the light of Jesus was reflected on his face. But he did not say even one word to me. Then Jesus resumed his speaking. My daughter, when an individual occupies an office and makes a mistake, or is not attentive to the duties that his office demands, he may cause great troubles. Imagine one who has the office of judge, of king, of minister, or of mayor, if he makes a mistake, or is not attentive to his own duties, he may cause the ruin of families, of towns, and even of entire kingdoms. If that mistake, if that lack of attention came from a private individual who does not occupy that given office, it would not cause so much trouble. Therefore, faults in offices weigh more heavily and cause graver consequences. So, when I call a confessor to give him an office, and in this office I entrust to him a work of mine, if I do not see attention and the fulfillment of his duties pertaining to that office, I give him neither the necessary grace nor enough light to make him comprehend all the importance of my work. Nor can I trust him, because I see that he does not appreciate the work entrusted to him by me. My daughter, if one carries out his office exactly, it means that he does it to fulfill my will. But if one does otherwise, it means that he does it for human purposes. And if you knew the difference between the two. In the meantime, I saw two people before me. One of them went on picking up rocks, old rags, rusty iron, pieces of clay, all things that are heavy and of very little value. Poor one, he struggled and sweated under the weight of that rubbish, more so since it did not give him the value necessary to satisfy his hunger. The other one went on picking up grains of diamond, little gems, and precious stones, all things which are very light, but of incalculable value. My sweet Jesus added, "One who keeps picking up rubbish is the image of one who operates for human purposes. That which is human always carries the weight of matter. The other is the image of the one who operates in order to do the divine will. What a difference between the two! The grains of diamond are my truths, the knowledges regarding my will that, picked up by the soul, form as many diamonds for her. Now, if one loses some of that rubbish, or does not pick it up, he shall cause almost no harm. But if one loses or does not pick up one of these tiny grains of diamond, he shall cause great harm, because they are of incalculable value, and they weigh as much as a god can weigh. And if it is lost because of someone who has the office of picking them up, what account shall he not have to give, having caused the loss of a grain of infinite value, which could have done who knows how much good to the other creatures? After this, my sweet Jesus placed his heart within me and made me feel his heartbeat, saying to me, "My daughter, I am the heartbeat of all creation. If my heartbeat were missing, life would be missing to all created things. Now, I love so much the one who lives in my will that I do not know how to be without her, and I want her together with me to do whatever I do. So you shall palpitate together with me, and among the many prerogatives I shall give you the prerogative of the heartbeat of all creation. In the heartbeat there is life, motion, heat. So you shall be with me, giving life, motion, and heat to everything. As he was saying this, I felt myself moving and palpitating in all created things. And Jesus added, "The one who lives in my will is inseparable from me, and I do not know how to be without her company. I do not want to be isolated, because company renders the work one undertakes more pleasant, more delightful, more beautiful. Therefore, your company is necessary to me, in order to break my isolation, in which the other creatures leave me." May 15th, 1926. Diversity of sanctity and beauty in the souls who live in the divine will. How the whole order and variety of creation shall be veiled in the human nature. I was thinking, if the creature had not withdrawn from the supreme will, one would be the sanctity, one the beauty, one the science, one the light, and there would be the same knowledge of our Creator for all. Now, while I was thinking of this, my beloved Jesus, and it seems to me that he himself makes these thoughts, some doubts and difficulties, arise within my mind, in order to have the opportunity to speak to me and act as my teacher, told me, "My daughter, you are wrong. My wisdom would not adapt itself to forming only one sanctity, only one beauty, or to communicating only one science and the same knowledge of me to everyone. More so since, through highest accord between my will and those of creatures, the kingdom of my will would have had free field of action. Therefore all would have been saints, but one distinct from the other, all beautiful but varied, one more beautiful than the other. And according to the sanctity of each one, I was to communicate a distinct science. And with this science, some would know one attribute of their Creator more, some another. You must know that as much as we can give to the creature, she only takes the little drops of her Creator. So great is the distance between Creator and creatures. And we have always new and different things to give. And besides, since creation was created by us so that we might delight in it, where would our delight be had we formed in the creature only one sanctity, or given only one beauty, and only one knowledge of our incomprehensible, immense, and infinite being? Our wisdom would have grown bored with doing only one thing. What would be said of our wisdom, love, and power if in creating this terrestrial globe we had made it all sky, or all earth, or all sea? What would our glory have been? Instead, the multiplicity of so many things created by us, while singing the praises of wisdom, love, and power, speaks also of the variety of sanctity and beauty in which creatures were to arise, for love of whom they were created. See, the sky, studded with stars, is beautiful, but the sun also is beautiful, though they are distinct from each other. And the sky does one office, the sun another. The sea is beautiful, But the flowery earth, the height of the mountains, the expanse of the plains, also are beautiful, though the beauties and the offices are distinct among them. A garden is beautiful, but how many varieties of plants and beauties are in it? There is the tiny little flower, beautiful in its littleness. There is the violet, the rose, the lily, all beautiful, but distinct in color, in fragrance, in size. There is the little plant and the highest tree. What enchantment is a garden guided by an experienced gardener? Now, my daughter, in the order of human nature, also there shall be some who shall surpass the sky in sanctity and in beauty. Some the sun, some the sea, some the flowery earth, some the height of the mountains, some the tiny little flower, some the little plant, and some the highest tree. And even if man should withdraw from my will, I shall multiply the centuries so as to have in the human nature all the order and the multiplicity of created things and of their beauty, and to have it even surpassed in a more admirable and enchanting way. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 19, Part 7. Fiat.